Welcome in, everybody. Now, we've all seen the thumbnail and the title. It's no secret what you're here for. I have, for the first time in 5 years, created a brand new class for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, of course, this is unofficial. I am not in any way related to Wizards of the Coast. In no way is this, official. But I have created this cool new D&D class called the Commander. So, today I just want to talk about where it is now, what you can do with it, and where it's going to go from here. So let's just talk about the basic mechanics, because this class, while it's pretty fleshed out, there's still a whole lot of play testing to do. I haven't had time to get together a group to just play this class, because the one D&D group that I have alone is barely even meets, so let alone meets enough to waste a whole session playing this class I made. But if you want to go ahead and playtest it yourself, this document will be linked in the description, so if you want to mess around with it, give me some feedback, playtest it, that would be greatly appreciated. But first things first, we got all the hit dice, hit points, all those. We got the nice little description at the top. All these things. And the table, of course, we have, level, proficiency bonus, class features, spell slots. Because at the beginning of creation, I set 3 goals for myself. I wanted it to fill a specific niche in the Dungeons and Dragons game that isn't already filled by something else. I wanted to make one that works with a lot of play styles. A lot of different characters can come from it. And last but not least, I wanted a half-caster because there's not too many of those already in the Dungeons and Dragons system. So I have done that. We have the half-caster spells right here, of course. Perfect order, we'll talk about that a bit later. As we get into commanded force, you have a small force of people under your command. And this is just a lot of words for saying you are a leader of sorts. Whether you're a necromancer leading an army of undead, somebody leading spirits, as in commander of spirits, or just somebody leading an army or people just in general. You can do all of that in this class. And there's the command action, which you can take to command your units, and I haven't really fleshed that out as much as I should. This is very much so going to be a thing where if you want to play the class right now, you're going to have to improvise what exactly this means, but I do intend on working on it as soon as I can start getting it play tested myself. Perfect order. All 3 of these orders are essentially a way of saying you're only so good to command a certain amount of people. Perfect order is how many you can keep under a very rigid structure where they all follow orders near flawlessly. Tight order is whenever your grip gets a little looser on them. They don't have as much influence. There's more people, and then loose order is even more people then. And it's really hard to keep them together in places where it may be fearful for them. Distance, just a way of saying the further away, not the further away, but whenever your units are far away from you, they're not going to really understand your new commands unless you have some way to do that telepathically. They're going to be a little more disorganized. You won't be able to communicate with them, and that's all that really says. And you do still have to keep these people under your order in at least a tight order spot. So that may mean some different things for you. But spellcasting, I don't like the way I worded this personally. But again, this is the first iteration of the class. I have things to do. Formations, these are like different strategies. You got the flank, the back, the quartet, the wall, the aerial, and the hoplite phalanx. Most of these are real or commonly used, except for aerial, of course, but that's because it's magical. Mystical Bond basically says that after a while, you'll start magically connecting with your troops. It'll make them easier to control, less fearful, all those things. Ability score improvement, nothing new here. Second in command. This is one of my favorite features of this class, but it lets you assign a secondary commander who, instead of acting on your turn like all your other units do, they act on their own and they have their own things they can do. And they also gain the command action. Now, a couple things I want to touch on is party members as units and party members as second in command, because there is an option here where you can have your party be your second in command, whatever that may look like to you. And so, of course, we have, they get the command action is the biggest thing. You have the command action, you can command these units, and you can assign this ability to your party members, which I feel like is very good. It promotes team synergy, but it does make some of the upgrades after this, some of the abilities after this, a little less potent. So just keep that in mind. But player and party members as your own units, I don't really think that this class should be played like this. If you want to give it a try, experiment with it, you can. But I don't really see it working. Again, this is all up to interpretation. It's all up to trial and error. But that's just something I noticed. Right-hand man, your second in command either gains a level in a class that you choose other than commander, or if you chose your second in command to be a party member, the right-hand man will give you basically a third in command, but he will be one step behind. So whenever you get colonel at the end, your third in command will level up to level 1 instead of your party member leveling up, because that just doesn't really make sense. But advanced troops, at a certain time, you get more advanced troops. It's exactly as it says. I have some stat blocks for not only the base troop, but also the advanced troop, although most of these subclasses use troops other than the base one. So now that we've went over all of these upgrades, time to look at the subclasses. Now, I haven't fully fleshed out any of the subclasses. I have started Commander of the Necrotic and Commander of Spirits. I have not started Commander of the Precise or Commander of Illusions. And I have fleshed out Commander of the Mundane. Now, Commander of the Necrotic, it's a necromancer in every form of the word. You have an army of undead that follow you. They're better at following orders. There are more of them, but they tend to be weaker units. They have less movement speed, all that sort of stuff. The spirits, these tend to be very powerful things that you don't necessarily control 100% of the time. They're more wild, more ferocious, more unpredictable. Commander of the Precise will be all about less is more, quality over quantity, whatever that may look like after I create it. Commander of the Mundane, again, it's like your general or your commander, your leader, your sheriff, whatever it may be. That's usually who will be playing Commander of the Mundane. All of these things to say, there's only one subclass right now. Not that great, but I do intend on having 5 subclasses by the time everything's said and done, so that's something to look forward to. The spell list. Now, none of these spells inherently deal damage, and I did that for a reason, because I don't want you to use your character as your damage dealer. I want you to use your units, and I want you to be able to buff your party members, so all of these spells are about that. They're about buffing your party members more than damaging the enemy. But commander feats, I will put a couple of feats in here that I have in mind. Housekeeping, this is just a thing like roleplay. Your DM can control your units, or if you want to, you can. It's really just a matter of whether or not your DM wants to do it or you want to do it. The DM's always right. This is just an insurance policy. Basically me saying this class is nowhere near complete. It's nowhere near perfect. So if your DM wants to homebrew things, wants to change things around, that's where that goes in. Stat blocks, just 2 D&D Beyond links, pretty simple, to the advanced and the simple troops. So that is it for this video. I will have a more maybe in-depth video, a better video once I actually finish the class, but I just wanted to get it in your hands before the new year. So I do hope you have a good new year, or if you're watching this after the new year, I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good night, whatever it may be. And I'll see you guys down in the comment section.